Hello, I'm Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and in this episode, I want to talk about the notion of victimhood. More specifically, what is that fine line between allowing yourself to be a victim versus still having compassion for yourself, but also being able to move forward? And it's a very powerful notion, right? Because you want to honor yourself and be kind to yourself and acknowledge the truth, but at the same time, you don't want to be stuck in, being a victim. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Now, before I get too deep into it, I would like to encourage you to subscribe if you haven't already. That way you get all the various lessons and episodes that I put out right when I put them out. Thank you if you just did, and also truly thank you if you already were. It means a lot to me. So let's talk about this notion. And this is something that I've asked myself in different forums, and I've had discussions with friends in different ways. But very recently, the reason why it's kind of come top of mind is because as part of my regular job, I've been editing a lot of Shetty episodes. And in particular, Gwyneth Paltrow on the Goop podcast, which I've linked to below if you want to listen to it. It's truly wonderful. And I don't say that just because I edited it. It's because Gwyneth is, I believe, a really wonderful interviewer, and Shetty is an amazing person. And the two combined create just magic. Anyway, I digress. So because of him, Gwyneth sort of framed that question, and the way Jay responded to it was this notion that when we are selfish about what's happened to us, then that creates the victimhood. Versus, let's say it's like, okay, this horrible thing happened to me, but I never want it to happen to anyone else. Now, it takes time, I understand, to get to that place. And what just to kind of even drive home that point more, it's like, if you've been fucked over in your job, let's say, then, you could play the victim and so forth and be like, I got fucked over. Or you could be like, this is an egregious thing. I don't want it to ever happen to anyone else. An example of this is, let's say, the Me Too movement, right? There's plenty of other examples as well, but the Me Too movement, it's the women that came forth, they were like, okay, this happened to me. It's horrific, but I'm not going to be in the victim mode anymore. I'm going to speak out about this so it doesn't happen to other people. And that's when you truly, break down the idea that you are a victim and can, move past that while still having compassion for yourself. I was talking with a friend actually, to give a more like personal side to this. And this friend was just deeply kind of still pained by being a victim, being hurt in a relationship, meaningful relationships over a number of years. But it's like, okay, you're still being a victim in that sense. And so what I told my friend was, hey, be kind to yourself. Like you did the best you could in that relationship. And okay, so you got screwed over. It is what it is. But now be kind to yourself and just kind of say, okay, that is what it is. And now make a list of like, these are your standards, moving forward. So it doesn't, at least in my mind, it doesn't always have to be about just the greater, public, let's say. It can be for yourself, right? So, in my example with the friend, by writing these standards of what this person wants in a relationship, now, if there's anything in the future that doesn't fit, then, relationship called off. And that's fixing a problem for the future so that the person no longer, has to deal with that stuff. So it's, in a sense, it's about channeling that energy, which, like, quite frankly, oftentimes can be deep and dark, but we have to move past that. Otherwise, that whatever person, entity, whatever it may be, they're in control of our lives. And when we've given up our autonomy, then we're not the victim at that point. We're I don't know what the right word necessarily would be, but we then are allowing ourselves to be dictated. My heart goes out to anyone who has suffered, whether it's anything described as in the Me Too movement, whether it's, things rape, molestation, being beaten, all these things, right? All that stuff is terrible. So I'm not condoning it, but at the same time, there are plenty of examples of people being able to move past that and not be defined by that particular moment. When you allow that moment to define you, then you've lost yourself, and that's not something that I want for you or anyone ultimately. And so this, if nothing else, I wanted to kind of introduce this idea to you of how to get past it. But certainly, if you are dealing with some major stuff, my advice is, seek out a therapist. I have no affiliation, but like Talkspace, for example, is a program out there where you can get connected with a therapist, and you can even do like texting, phone calls, and things like that. That's just one service of many. I would recommend, talking with friends that you really trust. Journaling, meditation, like there's plenty of ways to seek help. And if you are kind of stuck in that victimhood, and especially when something has been done to you horrifically, then I encourage you to kind of seek the help that you deserve. So that's what I have for you. Anyway, I hope this has been beneficial. I know it's a deep subject, and there's obviously, I can go further in depth with this, but I just wanted to introduce the topic, and by no means am I an expert in that. That's why I'm not going into the full topics of it. Everyone's kind of, life is individual, and so to talk about the scope of it, all I can do is kind of give you the first step, at least right now, right? If you have any questions or thoughts of your own, by all means, please share. I certainly would love to read them, and I think they would also benefit other people as well. So I encourage you to do that. If this episode you think might be beneficial for someone else in your life, by all means, please share it with them. It would certainly mean a lot to me. Thank you again. I appreciate you, and I hope to see you next time.